Hello and welcome to the Hispanic Patriot Podcast, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location here in the heart of the great state of Colorado. Here we speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God on this beautiful day before 4th of July, 2025. I am your co-host, Nicholas Razzo. With us is our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez Ray. And here today, we honor our great nation of the United States of America. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Welcome to the Hispanic Patriot, folks. Our Independence Day special.
Yes, indeed, folks. You know how much we love America, and we know how much you love America.
All right. How about that? Love that music, folks. I mean, you gotta love it. It's just it makes the hair on my arm stand up. If you don't get goosebumps. What happened? We lost your audio, Nick.
Quite all right. I was saying, have you noticed that patriotic music in our country is very underappreciated? You know, we have some great patriotic music, some of the best in the world, actually.
Oh yeah, we've got some of the best. And tonight we've got a great show for you. We're going to start with our Independence Day monologue. So let's talk. Let's just say a little bit. Tomorrow, Americans everywhere will celebrate the birth of the greatest nation the world has ever known. Exactly 249 years ago, a handful of courageous men gathered in a hot room in Philadelphia and declared independence from the most powerful empire on earth. They risked everything, their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor so that we, their descendants, could live free. Tomorrow, on the 4th of July, we don't just light fireworks, we light the fire of remembrance. We remember that America isn't just a place, it's an idea that all people are created equal, that our rights come not from government, but from God, that liberty is worth fighting for. So what does it mean to be an American? It means you don't wait for permission to speak your mind. It means you believe that no matter where you come from, Peru or Poland, Texas or the Bronx, you rise, you work hard, and build a better life for your family. Being American means standing up for your faith, your family, and your freedom, no matter who tries to silence you. It means that our glorious flag, our anthem, and our Constitution matter. It means honoring those who wore the uniform and bled for the right to live free, including our fellow brothers and sisters in the U.S. military today, and all our law enforcement. Now look, we know America isn't perfect. It never has been. But America is exceptional because we strive towards a more perfect union. We debate, we vote, we pray, and we keep moving forward. Being American doesn't mean you always agree with your neighbor or sometimes even a family member. It means you respect their right to disagree. It means you believe that we, the people, not the elites, not the bureaucrats, run this country. As a proud Hispanic American, as a veteran, and as a conservative, I know the promise of this country firsthand. My family came here for freedom, for opportunity, for the right to dream big and speak boldly. And today, I say this with no hesitation. I will never apologize for loving this country. I will never be ashamed of being an American, and I will never stop defending the truth that this nation, under God, is still the last best hope on earth. So on this 4th of July weekend, as you gather with your families, fire up the grill, go to the beach, watch the fireworks, remember, freedom isn't free. It's paid for by patriots, and it's up to us to preserve it for the next generation. From the Hispanic Patriot Podcast, I'm Hugo Chavez Ray, along with my co-host Nicholas Razzo. We wish you a happy and prosperous Independence Day for all of America. God bless you, and may God always bless the United States of America. Now let's talk a little bit about this great nation and its heritage. 249 years is a long time. The United States of America is the longest lasting republic in the history of the world. But if we're not careful and remain vigilant, it could be taken from us in one short generation. That's not hype, folks. That's the truth. And as we always say here, we speak the truth. We stand by the truth, and it's not my truth. It's not your truth. It's just truth. There's no other way to explain it. I know there are people out there that believe there's your truth, my truth, their truth.
Moral relativism.
Yeah, exactly. Moral relativism is what it is. And that's a scourge on America. And those that brought it here are ne'er-do-wells who really don't have the best intentions for our country.
It's very true. But it also goes to show that our American values really are under attack because they're exceptional. Because that's what jealousy does to mankind, very unfortunately. And the thing about America that makes people prideful, jealous, so many emotions, I think, is that you're absolutely right, Hugo. We are a 250-year-old nation since our independence. And the idea of America is very powerful. But there is many facets to America. And one such fact of America is the fact that the people who eventually became the founding fathers and founded America, many had been here since the 1600s. So even though their nation was not born yet, their footsteps had already made destiny start to happen. And so what did our founding fathers actually create in the United States? What is the United States of America? Let's really drill down on this. What the United States of America is the culmination of all Western civilization. Our founding fathers were deeply educated men who believed in the ideas of Greece and Rome, of the laws of Great Britain, of all the culmination that they had ever learned. And they said, what if we made a place like that? A place like Rome, the city of Rome, that had been built by so many heroes, Aeneas of Troy, the kings of Alba Longa, the Latin peoples. There was so much that went into Rome, and there's so much that goes into us. And our Hispanic culture gives us a very beautiful, unique perspective on this, because we understand, being a people of bronze, a composite metal, we understand the power when lots of different groups of people are able to bring the unique skill sets and psychology to one country, one ideal, and very powerfully, one military force. That has made America the greatest country in the world. In fact, since the beginning, because Hugo, you know, of course, who our first non-Britannic people in the United States Army were. The Hessian soldiers that were brought over to fight against us. Many realized, you know what? I'd rather be an American. How about that? Even our enemies brought to these shores to fight us wanted to be part of what we were doing.
Yep. That was
beautiful.
It was an amazing time, you know,
Could you imagine being alive during the American Revolution, man? I mean, there were Spanish people, there was Polish people, there was all kinds of people. Can you imagine?
Yeah, my wife always says, "What a horrible time to live." And well,
in many ways, it's true.
She's speaking strictly on conveniences and more modern, amenities, but not from the perspective of the founders and what they meant and what they fought for in order to give us this more perfect union. But, we don't want to forget that none of it could have happened without divine intervention. Back in the revolutionary days, and a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the leaders of the revolution were actually men of God. They were pastors, from small churches. They stood up, and God led them to stand up and fight for independence from a tyrannical government. And so, a lot of time, in contrast that to today, when you have what I could consider a lot of cowardly clergy who, want to go along to get along instead of speaking up for what's right. And one good example is the life issue. People want to try to be politically correct and say, oh, it's a woman's choice. In fact, that ne'er-do-well uh, minority speaker of the House today, Hakeem Abdul Blabbermouth, was talking about, we stand up for the woman's right to choose and reproductive health rights. That's their
Kill your babies, basically, was his major message.
What the hell does killing babies have to do with reproductive health rights?
Well, you see, Hugo, it's 4th of July, so obviously the demonic left wants to celebrate by killing American babies. I mean, that's just common sense, right? They hate America, they hate the culture, so they want to destroy really what American children are. We need to start believing this, really, because we don't believe this as a nation right now. We need to start seeing American children as the future bearers of American culture. We need to see each other that way. Hugo, I just want to share a very quick story where I went into a Mexican bakery, and I'm sure you know these wonderful little bakeries, beautiful.
My wife loves those.
They're wonderful. And, I met a wonderful Mexican lady there. We started talking. We speak Spanish to each other. I'm with a friend of mine. He's purely American. Lady gives me some pan dulce and some chocolate or something. And he goes to me, so she gave that to you for free just because you're both Mexican? I said, yeah. And he said, I wish Americans did that for each other. And I will never forget that as long as I live. And we here on Hispanic Patriot Podcast, one of our goals, we will bring that Hispanic value of you are Spanish too. You are my primo, you're my friend, you're my brother, let me help you. We will bring that value to all Americans because that's what we do in America. The best of the best goes to everybody.
Free galletas para everybody.
Now that is a winning platform, isn't it?
Yeah, like that. Don't even get me started with that Zoran guy. He thinks everything should be free. I tuned in today to watch the vote on the big beautiful bill, hoping and praying that it would get passed, and that job was speaking, and I listened for a little while.
Or whatever you call it when he flaps his mouth. Maybe speaking is a little generous.
I listened for a little while, and then I couldn't take it anymore, and I muted it. And I thought he'd go on for a little while, and I'm sitting here working and doing some things, and I kept staring up at the screen, and he was still there. 30 minutes passed. I looked up, he was still there. An hour, hour and a half.
Hours later.
He's just blabbered on. I don't know how anybody can speak so long and lie. And then when Speaker Johnson got to speak at the beginning, he says, I won't be like our colleagues on the other side of the aisle. He says, because it takes a while to craft a lie, but only a little while to tell the simple truth.
He's like kind of slowly realizing, oh, no, this is not the right, I completely screwed this up. It's like
that was perfect line. I mean,
Jeffries
he opened up with that, and you could see, and then later on when they panned over to
teach
the
a man
side,
to fish, just the whole bit.
But after the speaker didn't speak very long, maybe 5-10 minutes, and after they panned a big screenshot of the chamber on the Democrat side, almost everybody had left. They didn't sit there and listen to
didn't even bother
to the actual Speaker of the House. That's how crass these people are, and then Hakeem was lying about how all these people were going to die because we passed this bill. But this is what, we have to understand. This is our system of government, and it works because of the ingeniousness of our founding fathers. They, you couldn't have crafted a better government. You know, this was a brand new experiment when it started, but that's why I firmly believe that they were divinely guided, because no human being could have come up with the system that they came up with to form this nation and declare independence and against all odds fight with what initially was a ragtag team of patriots, but soon whipped into shape by General Washington and other leaders and became a fighting force that defeated, in that day and age, the most powerful army in the world, the British. And we chased them off of our shores, and the king finally said, "Uncle," and we won our independence. So,
Very true, very true. And
it
also, I just
was,
wanted. Oh, please go right ahead, Hugo.
I was going to say, it was a um, foregone conclusion and perfectly done when they made George Washington the first president of the United States. And actually, there were some, I don't know if you remember this, but there were some among the patriots that wanted to make him king. And George
Well, and
Washington
he
said,
certainly would have deserved it at that point, and yet he did not choose that path.
no, well, he said, absolutely not. I'm not a king. He says, and I didn't fight this war to be a king. You know,
Well, and
he want,
honestly, there's a lot of intelligence in that as well, because frankly, if we had a king, we would have been immediately steeped in European politics. We would have had royal marriages. There would have been all kinds of connections that we would have
yeah,
had, and that would have been impossible to immigrate to, because then how are all these various groups of people supposed to come under a king of one ethnicity that would be there forever? You know, because I love how you mentioned so many types of people in the American Revolution. There was, of course, the Polish cavalry officer Kazimierz Pulaski, and the very lesser well-known Lajos Kossuth, who was a Hungarian in Kazimierz Pulaski's unit, as well
okay,
as the Spanish soldiers who conquered Florida that would
yeah,
eventually become ours, Bernardo de Galvez and Jose Solano de Bote, who were Spanish, the governor and admiral of the Spanish Navy, respectively. And then we have the French, Marquis de Touvaille, so many, not Touvaille, that's another, French name, people, French name, French
yeah,
name. All right. We acknowledge the Frenchies who helped us. Very good. But all kidding aside, folks, we had the Dutch fight the British in India. We had so many things all over. Our American Revolution was a world war, and we won it. So never forget, folks, you are the citizen of the country that was born winning a world war.
yeah. And you know, there's so much going on nowadays with the immigration issue and all. And I
And so
just
much
want to
we've
say,
forgotten, too, about immigration
yeah,
and what it
we
means.
you hear so many opinions. You know, I heard this one guy on the radio today, um, on Jeff and Bill's show, and the guy calls in and he says, "What does it hurt?" And he was talking to Jeff. What does it hurt you to let these people in and come here because they want a better life and blah blah blah? And Jeff said, "Well, we just want them to come here legally." And he goes, "That's what I'm talking about. What is this crap about coming here legally? We should just let anybody and everybody in." And Jeff goes, "What? So you're for open borders?" Says, "Absolutely, yeah. We should just let anybody that wants to come here." And what I would have replied to that is, "Well, how long do you think before we became a third world nation? Then, you know,
Exactly. Well, people don't
these
understand a border that is crossed is no border at all.
exactly. Well, but this is the mentality of the left and the libs. You know,
Well,
they're
it's a
crying
complete
about,
misunderstanding, is what it is. It pisses me off, too, because it's a complete misunderstanding of what immigration's meant to do for a nation. It's like the Roman Republic, the Roman Empire. You're contributing to a much greater thing than yourself. But all these people care about is what you can do for me, what your tax dollars can do for me, what the country can do for me. Well, I remember a great president of ours saying a little something about that. Ask not what you can do, but what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country.
Exactly. And that
guy was a Democrat who said
that. Was a Democrat who today would actually be a Republican.
100%.
He was a war hero, 100%.
Fought the communists tooth and nail.
Yep, 100% patriot. But that was a different day, and
although they tried to kill him too, unfortunately with him they succeeded.
The whole argument about what kind of a nation we are, and I start with we're a nation of laws, because everybody wants it. All the people on the left, they want, we're a nation of immigrants. Okay, we are. However, we're a nation of legal immigrants. Well, what about all those people that came in the 1800s? Well, yeah, true. We didn't have tight immigration laws until the late 1800s. But we were
following the law that we had, should be said.
Exactly. It was there. And then the people that came over during, the late 1800s, early 1900s.
They didn't have a social welfare system to leech off of.
There was a migration system that they allowed. In fact, if you look at your history, you see that there was changes needed because the flood was getting to be too much. And they started, there was a time when some Americans didn't want Asians over here. And some Americans didn't want Irish over here, who came here during the Great Potato Famine. And, and then they hated the Italians that came over here. And so.
But it should be said that the reaction of all those groups was not to form Italian Lives Matter or Polish Lives Matter and start burning down America. That was not the reaction these immigrants had to being denied American citizenship. And you know what? A lot of people went back home when they realized they couldn't hack it. Yep. Because America's meant to be the best of the best from all over the world, especially Western civilization. It was never meant to be a dumping ground.
Exactly. And, but the key to that is what you just describing is it's called assimilation.
Absolutely.
And when you come here, you're supposed to assimilate. I remember very clearly as a young boy, when we came here, my mom said, we are here in America. We will be Americans. And she said, you will speak English. And, we spoke Spanish in the home, but outside the home, you spoke English. It took me about 6 to 9 months for me to become fluent in English, because you went out and played with kids and you just picked it up. And young kids can pick up a language very quickly.
That's not the borders in their head that we get when we become adults.
Exactly. That's why I, abhor this mentality that says, "Oh, we need bilingual education." I said, no, we don't.
No, we need more socialization among people who speak different languages so they all end up speaking English.
Yep. And you still, the benefit of that is you still maintain your native language, so you become bilingual.
And now you can translate for your American friends. I mean, imagine you're in a situation where that becomes useful, and we saw this with these guys called the foederati in the Roman Empire. The Romans just didn't let people come on over and stay barbarians. You had to learn Latin. You had to be civil. You couldn't go raiding your neighbors for slaves or whatever you did. You had to become Roman, just like here. Yeah. So what I don't understand is, how is it that we had complete understanding of all this 2,000 years ago, but we've completely forgotten it? Have we become stupid, Hugo? Did we just forget things? Or is it in the vested economic interest of some people to make us forget these things?
Yeah, and I had this discussion with a lefty recently, and and he saw that I'm from Peru, and says, "Well, you came here. You're an immigrant." And I said, "Yeah,
we know.
My family came here when I was 7, and I was legally entered into the country. We had our green cards, and when I turned 18, I became a citizen. That was the soonest I could become a citizen. I had to be an adult. And that was one of the proudest moments ever for me.
You've been an American a lot longer than you ever were Peruvian.
Exactly. And we assimilated. Now, my mom ended up moving back, but that was her choice with my siblings. But but she didn't dislike America. She moved back because of convenience, because my parents split up, and she was alone and
And the
didn't have.
bridge of the culture is very important. I mean, just
Yeah.
because one member of the family goes back doesn't make you any less American. I mean, it's this really amazing thing that takes place when
Well,
you
she
become an
she
American.
needed the support system of family down
We
there.
don't always have that in America these days, Hugo. That's a very
Exactly.
good point. Is that we are literally, you know what? I just realized something absolutely terrible, Hugo, that we have inverted our immigration system where people who really are the best of the best in their country don't want to come here because we're full of crime, because we're full of demonic people who want to destroy babies and the family. Who would want to come here? And yet many, many do. But unfortunately, as Donald Trump said, they're not sending their best anymore. We used to get the best of the best, and now
Mhm.
we're getting people who want to leech off of us while all the good people are sitting at home waiting for us to get better. That's not a country that they were promised. It's not a country that we were promised. And that's not a country that we promised to make when we were born here or became citizens.
Yeah. And the immigration policy back then was different in the sense that they vetted the people, they checked them for medical problems, and if they had medical issues, they turned them right around on the boat and sent them back where they came
Well,
from.
there you go, though. That's a very important distinction is that nowadays, Hugo, as you know from our extensive coverage, that there are criminal organizations and terrorists who use the land routes through Mexico, through the drug cartels, that, as you know, those drug cartels weren't around really in the 1950s, even into the early 1960s. They started to show up when around the time where the end of the Cold War brought rise to all these criminal organizations that just kind of crawled out of the communist countries, and they started to infect us for our money because they were poor and now they were suddenly capitalist countries. So what we see is a deep need to secure the southern border that we didn't have in the 50s or even times before. So when these leftists say, oh, there's no crisis at the border, they are ignoring 65 years of developing history,
Well,
including history that has really hurt Mexico. And
you
we
know what I've found that
rid of these.
shuts them up on the spot?
Give it to us, Hugo.
I challenged them. I said, okay, so you want everybody to be allowed. How many are you willing to sponsor? How many are you willing to take to your home, bring them in, feed them, clothe them, help them get jobs, education, whatever? How many are you willing to do? And it's always crickets
It's like,
because
well, I'm a collectivist. I don't think about what I do as an individual.
yeah, they just want to run their mouth and belittle everybody else that they wants law and order and an orderly migration system. But when it comes to what they would personally do, oh no, not me.
Well,
Somebody
that's
else
what it
can do.
is, you know. When you
So
have a
they're
collectivist mentality, you don't think about individual responsibility.
but going back, the movement, the socialist communist movement started back in the early 1900s here.
It's very true.
It started,
We had socialist candidates run for president.
yep, it started filtering in, and they saw a country that was prosperous. They saw a country that was, prime for their nonsense because of our freedom. So they knew that they could come here and they could be communist and still be accepted. Whereas in other nations, if you said you were a communist, you probably ended up in the gallows or some dungeon somewhere.
And that's kind of sad that our kindness and our empathy as Americans has really hurt us in the past. We allowed terrorists into our country. We allowed communists into our country that stole our nuclear secrets and gave them to Russia, who threatens us to this day with those nukes that were ours.
Yep.
It's insane what we've been nice about. And actually, Hugo, you and I have talked about this before, that actually, if anything, Donald Trump is being too nice. People call him Orange Hitler, and yet he is one of the most empathetic presidents we've ever had. He has pulled so many punches on the left when it comes to politics, maybe not rhetoric, but on politics, he could have locked up Hillary Clinton. He could have locked up so many people, and yet he knew what it would do to the country, so he chose not to. Their American presidents have done this throughout time, but I'll tell you one who didn't. FDR, when he recognized the United Socialist Republics, the USSR, as a legitimate country. We should have never done that. We should have never allowed those communists into our country. But you know what? We are still dealing with it today. That's okay. It's a problem we will solve, and we will gain the glory for it, folks.
Yeah. So,
we do not fear communism here, folks.
As we talk about Independence Day, I just think that people need to reflect on how great this nation is. All you have to do is look around the world and see the condition of other nations and how they look to America. The ones that are smart, the ones that understand what we have here, they have a love for this country and they wish they could be here. But unfortunately, we can't let everybody in. There has to be a orderly migration process with quotas and limits. And yes, even some merit-based policies, because, we want people to come here, but we want them to be self-sufficient. We don't want them coming over here and then mooching off the rest of the citizens, because that's not, how is that fair?
Well, how is that American either? I mean, we were literally born a settler frontier culture where if you couldn't hack it on your own, you would be dead. Either Native Americans would kill you, or starvation, or any number of things, wild animals, who knows? So the idea that we should get rid of that, no. That is how we lose wars. That's how we lose our culture and our country. We will never get rid of our frontier mentalities. Why should we?
And Americans are a generous people. We, even back,
look at charity statistics
going into the 1800s and beyond, the immigrants that came here with nothing were helped by those who were here. They helped them get on their feet. They helped them, get a
job, get a place to live,
a job,
the basics of life,
career, whatever. It wasn't.
Now everybody
there wasn't a lot of education back then. That was kind of, it's self-education. And then we had the movement.
We didn't teach people to be stupid yet.
Yeah. And so, people that want to cry about how Americans are mean, that's baloney. We're the most generous people on the planet.
Yeah, you ever notice the attitude that people have towards the South of America sometimes? They're all racist. And then you go there and it's beautiful and people are so nice. And it's like, man, there are some liars about you people right now.
I was watching this comedian the other day and he was talking about how people come to America and they see the greatness and everything. And he looked at everybody and says, but what, the one thing we have that the rest of the world doesn't have, and everybody's listening, rednecks.
That man has never been to Eastern Europe. They don't have rednecks exactly there, but they got variants. Hugo, in our own Hispanic America, there is some people that we might consider cousins of rednecks, the redneck primos, if you will, the rojo necks, if you will.
The rojos, yeah.
But it's beautiful that we have this culture because really, and Hugo, I want to make this point clear because I think it's not very well known. Our history of declaring independence from Great Britain was about tyranny. They were taxing us without representation, the whole bit. But the deeper philosophical understanding, we knew as Americans, even back then, that we would not have our potential stifled by an island 1,000 miles away when we had this whole continent, the United States of America. You notice they didn't make it the United States of the 13 colonies. They knew that one day the frontier would be theirs. They had destiny in mind. So, Hugo, you're right. They weren't just guided by God in the present. They saw further ahead. Manifest destiny. And while there were mistakes made, and there is a lot that we can do for our Native American friends these days, there are so many other cultures. The Ottoman Empire the Russian Tsardom, who would have just exterminated all of these people. There is so much great evil out in the world. America is not one of it. And that is one of the best lessons you learn when you know American history.
Absolutely.
The true American history.
All right, we're going to close out this segment with a beautiful song that's one of my favorite. And it's... All right. That one also gives me goosebumps.
Absolutely. Also, I encourage everyone to look up the lyrics, the full lyrics of that song. Because actually, Hugo, do you know where that song was written?
I do, but I can't remember.
Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
How about that? And it was first performed in Chicago. Yeah. Funny how that is, guys. Funny how that is.
Yep. It's a great song, and tomorrow we're going to hear a lot of great songs and enjoy fireworks and all, and I just hope that it's a great day because we've heard about these no kings morons that are going to try to disrupt America's celebration, but they might just run into a buzzsaw if they go to certain places in this country. So
I'm sure there's a lot of things they could run into. And of course, we want to give a shout out to the great John Philip Sousa, great Hispanic American. You want to include Portugal in that as well, but he was born in Spain, who was the author of so many of our great American marches.
Yep. All right, let's transition into what a great day it was today in our Congress. And that is the one big beautiful bill got passed and is on its way to President Trump's desk for signature. And as most of you know, July the 4th was the target date. They beat it by one day. And by God, we're going to have a bill signing. I'm not sure if he's doing it today or tomorrow.
I bet it's going to be tomorrow. I have a strong feeling that that's what Trump would do, right?
Yeah, that would make sense, but
Trump's a showman. Politics is showmanship to a large degree.
Let's dive into a short video here about the bill and what's in it, why it's good, and why we should
answer some of the critics.
Yep.
After hours of delays and sleepless nights in Washington, Congress appears set to meet President Trump's self-imposed July 4th deadline for his spending bill. The House passing it within the last couple of hours. The bill fulfills several of President Trump's campaign promises, but its price tag and big slashes to Medicaid face significant pushback. ABC's Christian Cordero has the latest from Washington.
Okay, I want to pause right there because this nonsense that it's big slashes for Medicaid, probably the overwhelming majority of those slashes to Medicaid are against illegal immigrants. So let's just put that where it belongs.
In the trash.
President Trump's signature legislation, which he dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act months ago, progressing since in fits and starts, cleared its last major hurdle today, and it's on its way.
Surprised they let Kane man over there still in the White House.
The nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
House Speaker Mike Johnson secured enough support for the bill
overnight. And look at there. There was two defections from the Republicans. I want to know their names.
There's always a few aren't there.
We are going to make this country stronger, safer, and more prosperous than ever before. And every American is going to benefit from that.
The vote itself delayed, with House Minority
Boo.
Leader Hakeem Jeffries delivering a record-breaking 8-hour and 44-minute speech in opposition.
This bill represents the largest cut to Medicaid in America.
Look at the bobbleheading.
This bill represents what you idiots can't
It
think
will
about.
devastate vulnerable populations all across America.
Republicans faced an uphill battle advancing the bill, with some
You like how he talks? Oh, of course, this bill.
against its price tag. The
What a
nonpartisan
clown.
Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill will add $3.4 trillion to the national debt over the next
How
decade.
the news announcer
Station
says
Frames
would,
Radio
and
says
the
some
Texas could.
11.8 million Americans could lose their health insurance coverage because of its steep cuts to Medicaid. Trump's bill also fulfills several of his campaign promises, including no taxes on tips and overtime pay, plus an increase in funding for border security and hiking the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. The White House says the president plans to sign the mega bill into law during a ceremony tomorrow evening on the 4th of July.
There you go.
Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
That answers the question.
It absolutely does. And what we really want to remind everybody, folks, is have you guys, I know, Hugo, you remember this. Have you guys ever watched a Republican administration not do everything in one big, beautiful bill? It takes years, because then what ends up happening is there's kvetching and there's parliamentary procedures that the Democrats do for every single bill. If you only do it for one bill, you only got to go through that nonsense once. It's why we try to get as much done in our meetings as we possibly can, despite the efforts of so many people who would rather us do only one thing at a time. We Republicans, as it turns out, can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Well, I'm just going to urge people to take the time to read and not watch news.
Take the time to read, Hugo. That sounds like work.
Yeah. Well, I guarantee you, everyone that's crying and moaning and groaning have not read one paragraph, one sentence of the bill. They're relying on this nonsense coming from the left stream media that basically wants to poo-poo the biggest accomplishment in congressional history and wants to just basically cut it down and try to make the president look bad. Look, I'll be the first one, as a strong supporter of the president, I'll be the first one that'll say, no, it's not perfect. But you know what? It was needed. And we needed most of the things that are in there. And this nonsense, because their big mantra right now is, look at all the cuts to Medicaid. Well, I'm sorry, but it's Medicaid cuts to illegals.
That is what we have to press people. The budget cuts are actually projections of savings. They're not really spending or cuts when you think about it. It really is that we know we're not going to spend this money on illegals that we're deporting. I mean, notice 11.2 million. We have 20 million illegals in this country. You think at least half are on Medicare? Come on, people. But of course, what's sad is that I'm sure many strong Medicaid. Thank you so much, Hugo. Hugo, being your age, you would know the distinction better than I. I'm so sorry. But it's true.
I earned my Medicare.
Exactly. Because honestly, at the end of the day, we have to be angry about the fact that illegal immigrants are stealing the security from our seniors. They're stealing the food from your table. They're stealing the health care. And yet these Democrats want to protect the people who do that. But you know what? I think that that's the connection they mean to do. They know that the illegals suck in more welfare, which means that they get to spread more money to their cronies.
Yeah, I wish the Democrats would have the same passion for taking care of our veterans as they do for taking care of illegals.
Well, those veterans vote Republican a lot of the time, Hugo. You know, they're not as important to these people.
Well, if it wasn't for those veterans, they wouldn't have a Congress to sit in. So,
but how many times have we seen political people with no military backbone whatsoever fall in line and become collaborators to foreign regimes and tyrants? That is the difference. And you know what, Hugo? I think that's what makes an American an American.
Yep, absolutely. So while you're out there listening, because you're going to hear a lot about this big, beautiful bill, it was necessary, uh, you know,
The
dismiss
alternative was getting nothing done.
the cuts to Medicaid are cuts to illegals who are taking advantage of that program.
Just look at the numbers; they match right up.
I'm sorry, but no, not while we have veterans who are struggling, who are homeless, who are
Young people who can't afford children,
who have medical issues because of their service. They should be prioritized, in my opinion. So I don't want to hear
100%.
one peep about somebody getting Medicaid cut because they're here illegal.
You mean illegals can't get their transgender surgeries, Hugo?
Oh, yeah. And transgenders can't go into the military anymore. Oh, my God, what a travesty.
Well, all we got to do is tell them that the alligators like the taste.
Oh, you jumping the gun, but yeah.
No, I'm jumping the alligator. I couldn't say jump the shark now.
That's a good segue to our next topic, which is really funny to me because protesters are freaking out about
the interior crocodile alligators.
Alligator Alcatraz, folks. Let's look into what's going on in Florida, my favorite state. Here we go. Whoa.
They always look the same, these people. That's what I mean. It's just they always look like that. This whole joke doesn't work if it's not in Florida. Oh, the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
Yep. Aren't they cute with their megaphones? Yeah, okay. She knows all of them, so she knows. Hey, Wally. Chomp, chomp,
Oh,
chomp.
this is for some political campaign at the end of the day. Yep, Josh Weil for Senate.
Hey, I want one of those Gulf of America hats. Yeah, of course you don't. I don't think it's too important to know anything. I just want to hold this sign because somebody's paying me. No peace.
It's like, okay, at this point, you guys are the ones messing with the alligators, all right? There was no alligators before you showed up.
There was the jury. Okay, that's what's going on at the entrance to the facility. And guess what? I bet you none of those protesters are going to try to sneak in from the side or the swamp. In fact, I would love to see one try.
Well, and that's why
Yeah.
they're not worth listening to, honestly. They're not even worth
Yep.
hearing. Because to be honest with these people, because some of them actually frustrates me, is some of them were co-opting the Seminole Native American tribe, saying, "Oh, this is ancestral Seminole land." It's like, well, they inhabited all of Florida, first of all. So I
Right.
hate that they always try to bring some, Native American thing to try to say you can't build on this land. You guys have no idea what you're talking about, and you're degrading a beautiful culture. So let's get that straight right away. But I love Alligator Alcatraz, man. I love the fact it's in Florida so that we can make this joke. Because, again, this joke wouldn't exist if it wasn't
Right.
in Florida.
So now we saw the serious side. Now let's look at a little bit of humor to end this show, because I think this is great. I love it. I found this today and I wanted to share.
Gator Gitmo. Some build walls.
Joan Hewitt.
We nurture ecosystems of freedom.
Is it true you use live predators for security?
We prefer the term patriotic volunteers with a unique skill set.
And this is our state-of-the-art, 100% organic biological filtration system. It also doubles as our welcome committee.
Oh, they're the protesters.
Oh my God! Get it off me!
This is inhumane!
Ma'am, our reptilian contractors are all free range and ethically sourced. Got a bite? Careful, if it's one of the staff, you have to throw it back.
That raccoon can type better than I do.
This place is a supervillain's lair!
Thank you. We've been working very hard on the branding.
important. Critics say holding people in tents in this heat is inhumane.
It's an immersive, authentic Everglades experience. We spare no expense providing that authenticity.
This very land was saved from a jet port in the 60s. It's a protected treasure.
And look at us now, turning yesterday's failures into today's freedom.
Gator Gitmo is a concentration camp!
Sir, this is a wetland. No, you're free. Go, swim to freedom.
When the LGBT interacts with Muslims.
Use the Python airdrop card on my protester piece. That's an illegal move.
This one's got a rattle in the tail again.
Just put in a maintenance request. They'll get to it.
Frank, we've discussed this. The power consumption is still too high.
But, sir, think of the morale boost. And the laser dot chase feature is a huge enrichment activity.
Can you respond to Germany's claim that Gator Gitmo violates international law? Germany should focus less on our reptile security and more on their NATO spending.
It's a brilliant jobs program. We're putting America's alligators back to work.
They're not alligators. They're amphibious government drones. The pythons are the charging cables.
And the Lord said, let there be a moat, and let it be filled with my scaliest, toothiest angels. Amen?
And that's why Warden Stone is my hero. He proves even patriots with lots of teeth can serve America.
Johnson. Never mind. Moving on. Rodriguez.
Got to keep the night shift happy. Their morale is crucial for our operational success.
Check.
I can see soldiers.
Hold on, my queen is trying to crawl away again.
Wow, Hector. Such passion. I love how you've captured the team spirit.
The targeting matrix is still in its calibration phase, sir.
I see.
Watch the years go by. Gift shop.
Circular motions. Her quarterly review is tomorrow.
It's the amphibian union rep again. He's filing a grievance about the Fireflies' overtime.
This tastes chewy. It's locally sourced. You're tasting freedom.
They'll think I'm one of them, a new recruit.
They will think you are a poorly painted snack.
This can get me a boat, right? That couldn't even buy you one of Sergeant Snappy's baby teeth.
Like movie line right there.
Scatteros, with the taste of freedom in every bite. Now with free patriotic Python marshmallows. Part of a patriotically complete breakfast.
The 2026 Ford F-150. Built Ford tough, but is it
Ford
Gator
getting
Gitmo
into the
tough?
picture.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Which way is north?
Hey, alligator delivery.
That's a terrifying concept.
And here are your complimentary ICE branded mosquito nets. You get one. Do not lose it. I am serious.
Oh, I'm just so proud of my little Chompy. He just made Senior Deterrence Agent of the Month. Yes, we're framing the certificate.
You dropped a python on our consulate's intern.
He was in Florida.
What is the single biggest challenge you face here? The paperwork. You have no idea how much paperwork is involved in requisitioning a tactical python.
All LEDs.
Warden Stone.
Your critics call this facility cartoonishly evil.
I call it the American dream, with more teeth.
We're sending a message. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Only patriots with scales.
It's about damn time we put the Gators on the government payroll.
Look at them. They had a fight last week, but I think they're going to make it.
This Gator Gitmo is an affront to human dignity. A barbaric spectacle.
And for the Glades tomorrow, a high of 98 with a 30% chance of python showers.
Ice bears.
This facility will irreversibly damage the entire ecosystem.
So you're saying we need more gators to balance it out? I can put in the requisition.
Gator Gitmo. Some build walls. We nurture ecosystems of freedom. Phase 2 is on schedule. Gator Gitmo. Some.
So if y'all want to fund the next Gator Gitmo movie, please go to HispanicPatriotPodcast.com and click the donate button. Every dollar will help bring that to life.
Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button.
Yes, please.
Hit that donate button. We need some moolah.
But seriously, folks, that is ridiculous on purpose. Because honestly, if you have a problem with getting deported from Florida, maybe you should have came through Canada. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep. All right, we had some fun tonight. I wanted to close out and show everybody the new Denver GOP website.
Yes, folks.
We launched it 2 days ago, and we're going to show you our website.
Denver is worth saving. You're right.
Check it out.
Hey, Denver, how have the Democrats been working out for you? Sanctuary policies protect violent criminals. Police aren't allowed to keep us safe. Streets are lined with tents and human waste. Only 34% of Denver's 4th graders read proficiently. Less than 25% of Denver's 8th graders do math proficiently. Our schools are indoctrinating, not teaching our children. Democrats are kicking families and businesses out of Denver, and the size of government is exploding. Let's restore law, order, safety, and sanity. Let's teach reading, writing, and math again, and return decisions to parents. Let's cut taxes and business-killing regulations. Republicans don't see race or gender. We see success or failure. And the Democrats have failed us. Denver is worth saving. So vote Republican. What do you have to lose? Stop this insanity. Join our movement back to common sense.
There you have it, folks.
Very nice, very nice.
Denver on the move.
Guys, that is a major thing that Hugo has in his hat in the Denver Republicans. Great leader up there in the city.
I had a hand in building that website. Ideas, not the technical stuff, but the ideas.
But true, folks, you will be seeing a lot of local news coming up on Hispanic Patriot Podcast. We got so many things going on in Colorado right now. We are mobilizing. We are recruiting. We are doing so many things. And as always, we remind you guys to save the date on August 12th. Big thing happening with more details to come. And we have series on great American patriots throughout the ages. We have been working all month for it, folks. And we are ready to release these videos, and you'll be seeing them at least once a week coming up.
Yep. And unfortunately, we are out of time. Now, we head into our Independence Day weekend. Everyone have a great day, great weekend. Play golf, barbecue, wave the flag, watch fireworks. Yeah. And we want to thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. God bless you. God bless America. And happy Independence Day, folks.
Happy Independence Day. Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday, America. Good night, folks. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.